put quarters in to hold them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a great set, that. Great set. It's a shame it looked nothing like the model, really, that they were using, but yeah, I love that. And I think we kind of mentioned even the Daleks earlier, so that was another one in there. And again, as you said, an amazing cast.
Joe Rowbottom,
Harry Story.
Maris,
John Bennett.
John Bennett, Jonathan Bailey.
Yes.
And of course, Maris Goring, he had to say, insert the suppositronic brain. And he kept saying that, and then the producers run and said, isn't it positronic? Yeah, the suppositronic brain. But that's where I had to find a handkerchief. This is Miss Waterfield. Yes. Well, I got a pair of frilly knickers from the wardrobe department. These are Miss Waterfield. Yes, and Debbie off camp. Not mine. These knickers went all the way on the set. Mary Scoring had to have a silk handkerchief for me. But it's very hot. Miss Waterfield. And then the Dalek came in, and then he was these aren't Miss Waterfield. How many got the show recorded? I don't know.
Through it.
Yeah. These aren't Miss Waterfield. I recognise them anyway. And with Nicholas, because in the underground, in the Well of Fear.
Yeah, Well of Fear.
Again, we found something that she dropped, and again, Patrick went, no, yeah, I said, these are the Waterfield pair of knickers again. Patrick said, yes, they are. And Jack Watling said, how do you two know? All indignant father. How do you two know?
Oh dear. So you had Evil, and then you had Faces Ones, which is where Annika and Mike Graves.
Yes. Yeah. I think the Faces one is where we started to get the humour between Patrick
I'm doing all these in the wrong order, just
yeah.
Don't worry about you.
And that's why I said about a double act, a comedy act, start to slip in, we came back on it, boom, what top has got, kicking out of the table. And that's where because we knew they were going, or they'd gone, we would start a double act going,
Yeah.
hello, there's trouble.
Kind of carried it forward.
You're early.
It looks like I got hit in the face with a pie.
Yeah, you can play.
You can play.
You don't mind, do you?
Oh, I mind them so much. Of course they don't. Wendy Pammery! We're just kind of like doing a whistle-stop tour through Doctor Who stories and monsters and guest casts and memories and all of that kind of good crazy stuff that we were on. We talked a bit about Ice Warriors and
Is that one of the faces?
that's one of the comedians.
The comedians?
Oh, I never met a comedian.
Yeah.
They look interesting.
Yeah.
Well creepy. Yeah.
I said, are you a comedian? Don't tell me a joke.
What did you say?
A comedian. No, don't tell me a joke.
No, that's a comedian.
Oh, it's a comedian. It's a comedian. You got it wrong.
Do you know, I should never have come in, should I?
Too late!
Seemed like a good idea.
Lock the door, don't let her out. Don't let her out.
So when you joined Wendy, it was with the Cybermen again, in yet another Cybermen story.
Yeah.
And this would have been you did Moonbase,
Wheel in Space, mine.
Zoom,
Yeah.
and then so this was the third story you'd done with the Cybermen.
Has it really?
Yeah, I think so.
Had Cybermen changed?
Yes.
Yeah.
Did they change every story of a Cyberman? Had they just
More like over the
evolved
decades.
a little?
Yes,
Yeah.
more or less. I mean, the two previous stories that Frazer was in, Moonbase and Two, the Cybermen looked fairly similar to each other. It was more or less the same costumes, but with small changes. But then when it got to Wheel, I think that was when they brought in the wetsuit look. It was on vogue that year, the Cybermen.
But your first story, and then we were breaking for summer holidays. We had 6 weeks off. And Paul Fox, who's head of BBC, said, well, I don't want to find another show to put in the same slot for Doctor Who. Said so. He got the writer to write where Patrick put a little funny thing on his head and said, "No, remember, Zoe, if you want to join us, this is what could happen."
Yeah, I remember that.
And it showed it for the next 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Sorry, an
Yeah.
episode. And it was great because we were on holiday and lying by Beach Parkway. Thanks, Paul. You know, we were earning money.
Earning money for another 7 weeks on every piece of Even the Daleks.
Oh look!
Yeah, there they are.
Oh
Look.
look, different Cybermen.
Yeah.
So they do.
So which one was ours then?
The one in the middle, if any.
The third from the left.
Third one, yeah.
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 I love the
That
original
one.
coin, it's always my favorite.
Yeah. The two on the end look like Iron Man.
Our Cybermen, I think, were more scary because they were wearing rubber boots so they could creep up beside him and just. Whereas the big one on the right. He didn't fun.
But what's odd about the new Cybermen is that they make that noise no matter what they're walking on. I mean, it could be grass and they go. It's ridiculous. And there's even one story where it creeps up on the Doctor and it's like, how? It's a terrible racket whenever they move.
I've got some pictures at home somewhere, photos, when we were filming at the Guinness factory.
Oh yeah.
And it was a break, it was a lunch break or something. And there's a brilliant picture of, I don't know whether it's out in the general domain, but a picture of Pat running away from a Cyberman who'd only got half a costume on and a cup of coffee. It's a great picture.
You must find that. I don't know
Try
if you've
and
seen
find
that.
it.
You must find that.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. I love that.
Yeah.
Photograph of Patrick and I, because we broke for lunch and we had no time that afternoon, so the directors of Guinness took us upstairs. We had fine wines, food, cigars, and
Guinness.
and Guinness and everything. So we had to look round, round a corner. One had two. We kept falling over. And Dougie Campbell, bless his heart, I know where you were for lunch, boy. Can we just do one thing? So there's a photograph that is in the domain. We're hanging on to each other with your knife. Looking around the corner. He was lovely, Dougie Campbell.
Oh, he was lovely. Lovely, lovely man.
Yeah. So that story was Invasion, and then the main villain in that one was, of course, Kevin
Kevin
Stoney.
Stoney.
Yes.
What a brilliant actor he
Kevin.
was.
Yeah.
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 Wonderful, wonderful actor. Really creepy. And that double act he had with Peter Halliday.
Oh,
was
yes.
brilliant.
Packer.
Your heart went out to Packer.
Poor
Everything he did was
I
wrong.
mean, all he wanted to do was torture you all. Bless his heart.
Yeah. Yeah.
Packer.
That stands up really well, that story, Invasion. Because I couldn't remember it very well, and I think, did we do the commentary for it? Were you on the commentary for that?
I think, yes, I did.
And,
All for two of the episodes or something.
and
Nick Courtney did some comedy, didn't
yeah, maybe it was Nick there, but, and the director, who was the director? Mike,
Doug Camford.
Doug,
Yeah,
who did it, yeah.
he?
It was fascinating watching and listening to how they dealt with things, because we were kind of quite shielded, weren't we, from any problems
Oh,
that
yeah.
were happening.
Yeah.
And he talked about the set and how the set created problems and complications and how that evolved. And I didn't do much talking, which is unusual for me, but I found it really interesting listening to other people's viewpoints and how things were working and happening at the time.
One of my favourite scenes in The Invasion is the one where you guys go down in the sewers so that, what's her face, he gets the photographs of the Cybermen to take back to the Brigadier and co. And of course there's this mad Cyberman kind of roving down in the sewers. And it's such a great episode ending where it's like you've got kind of the police on one side, come on you lot, stop messing about, come on out. And then you're stuck in the middle and you're going, the Cybermen! And this cycles come in. Oh, that was such a brilliant
And
episode.
his voice is going, wah, 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 good guy.
That's right. Do you remember doing that bit? Anything
I remember
Well,
these.
I remember, look,
Oh, there we
yeah.
are. There we are. It's a pause. Yeah.
yeah.
That was the front page of the Daily Mirror as well.
Was it?
Yeah.
Didn't somebody drive into a, did Did you do some filming on Hampstead Heath or somewhere once?
Absolutely.
Somebody
Yes,
did.
yeah.
Well, was I there?
I don't know if you were there. No, I don't think you were there. No, I think it was a nice story. I'm wandering all over the heath and stuff.
Okay. Because a woman drove into a tree, didn't
Yes,
she?
yeah,
Because
apparently. Yeah.
she was just driving across the common
Looked
and
across.
suddenly saw this coming towards her.
It must be interesting when she filled out the insurance claim form.
Well,
Alien monsters on Hampstead Heath.
when she was up in court, well, Your Honour. Was this Cyberman?
So Dougie Canfield, he had a great sense of humour. It was his idea where we were going to Kevin Sutton's Rolls Royce. He said, right, Frank, you jump in the back seat, then run round, and then jump in the front seat. So Packer goes to go, you know, and that's his idea. And of course, then Packer goes to get in, and James leaning out his shotgun. And that was Dougie's idea. He's lovely man.
Oh, such a great story, that. So good. Other stories that you kind of went through, we talked a little bit yesterday, actually, about the Mind Robber. And we were talking about the actors that you met from that recently. Do you remember much about the Mind Robber? The one in the White Void?
Well, he was out of it for a week.
Yeah.
Oh, of course, that was the one you went in for a week.
Yeah, the chicken box.
Yeah.
I turned up on...
Why it's my favourite story.
Yeah. They got another actor in to play Jamie. Frazer's busy going, he might be better than me.
But actually, if somebody's going to get chicken pox and you've got to redo something like that, it was a perfect story. It wouldn't have worked in Invasion.
No.
Well, it would have.
Well, he just disappeared off somewhere. You'd have worked
It
around.
worked so brilliantly,
Yeah.
that idea of putting his face together and then getting Hamish by mistake. Hamish Wilson, yeah.
The other Jamie.
Yeah,
Billy Davis.
very, very good,
Yeah.
Hamish Wilson.
Looks like they're made out of an air ducting hose.
Oh, that's Hamish there, isn't it? Yeah.
Slowly bringing him up. There he
There he
is.
is.
There he is.
There he is.
No, we just never met him before.
You weren't really worried you're getting sacked, were you?
No.
We had our fingers.
We are here to give you an injection.
I always love that scene as well with the robots and with the white void. It's just so clever.
Actually, you had to hit me. You had to smack me around the face.
Oh, didn't you?
Yes. And
Why?
because I was in a trance.
Oh, yeah. Well, you were always in a trance.
2 glasses of rum will do it.
That would have been hard. What was I doing? Just like...
And then the director said, no, really hit him. So, and you really smacked me. And you went, oh, I'm sorry. And just danced on the front. I'm sorry.
Oh, there you go. Look, they're tranced up there.
Yes.
Whoever's working this thing is a genius.
Yeah.
Well, Stephen. It's a great story, that.
I did a panel with those Ice Warriors last weekend in Bristol.
White robots, yes.
And I hadn't seen the White Robots since 1968.
Oh.
And they're delightful. His name was, one was called Terry Bright, and the other was John Atterbury. And we were looking at the photos, and they couldn't even remember, well, A, they couldn't remember the story, and B, they couldn't remember which one of them was in those costumes. They didn't know whether they were on the right or the left or where. Had no idea. But they were delightful. They were pretty impressive, those white robots. I really liked them.
They look like a kinder, gentler Cyberman.
Yeah.
Well, Billy, you made one. You got one at home,
I
haven't you?
know.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Mr. Vic Robo.
So was it BBC?
I should bring that back to the convention.
Yeah.
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 Duck tubing?
I think that's what they used.
Yeah.
I used cardboard, pretty much the duct.
Yes.
The two men said they were cardboard.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah, they said they were really uncomfortable, really unbendy, and they were cardboard. Do you think they were cardboard?
Quite possibly. Never assumed the BBC would actually use anything decent to make a costume out of.
Budget. I suppose they probably would be
Needs
cardboard.
money. So
Packing
another one
crates.
of Billy's favourites, of course, is the Quarks.
Oh, the Quarks, yeah.
Do you remember the Quarks?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not confused.
Well, they couldn't
They
sort of-
never stood up, did they? They kept just going, they kept falling.
Falling over.
and then, of course, they couldn't
We couldn't go uphill.
uphill because they just.
Well, they had child actors in them.
Yeah, yeah.
They were
I mean,
quite small.
as awful as it was them falling over, it was quite funny to me. Because they would be going uphill and then they just
Yeah.
fall.
They look like refrigerators.
You see the legs?
They look like mini refrigerators.
Yeah, they do.
Oh, there they
Exactly
are.
what they look like.
I love the car.
Can I get a cold soda,
Maybe those are
please?
beer caps.
One's beer, one's Diet Coke.
No, I thought they were great.
I can't really remember the story. What
Was Ronnie Allen and
Dominic.
Oh, the
Edith
Dominator.
Tober being dominators, taking over a
Yeah. Oh,
planet?
they are.
You put the bottle on the top to pop the cap off.
And of course,
Brian Camp was in that.
Oh, yeah.
as well, in an early
Yeah.
role.
and I played Cully, the oldest student,
Arthur.
Arthur Cox, the oldest student ever in a very white dress. Oh God, yeah.
Oh, that was fantastic. Fantastic.
Wow.
Wow.
You got to love them, haven't
That's
you?
right. And then we got the Crotons.
Oh, it's,
You got some great monsters. You really did. This was the era, obviously, of cardboard costumes and things made out of old egg boxes. We'll get a Croton up there in a minute. Do you remember the Crotons?
Yeah, the croutons.
No, those are the things you put in the salad.
Yeah.
yeah. My least favourite monster.
Yeah.
Well, we were supposed to be doing the Wheel in Space, not Wheel in Space, Prison in Space, a comedy thing, and I think, Peter Bryan said, no,
I think that's a it looks like a JATO, jet assisted takeoff.
And of course, it was during the apartheid, so the colour spoke with the South African accent.
South African monsters. Yeah. Yeah, they were great. So it's a shame that Prison in Space kind of all went to the wall, wasn't it? Because it was quite advanced. There's quite a lot of work went into it.
That's where all the girls
Why
were.
was it? Because it was too funny?
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
because they thought it was too funny, or the scripts weren't working and they weren't sure and all this. But I mean, the scripts were eventually reworked as that Ronnie Barker, Ronnie Corbett.
The word itself.
Yeah.
Yes,
It's
that's right.
like a planet ruled by women, all dressed in leather and rubber and stuff, whipping the men. And you'd have hated that, wouldn't you?
That was last night.
Dreadful show.
Yeah, it was all a bit politically incorrect
Yes.
In today's.
in today's world. Did we do the audio?
We did the audio, yeah.
Yeah, it
I
was a
found the
bit-
script in my garage.
Oh, that's
And I
right.
rang Jason Hay Gallery, and he then got it made into a radio.
That,
And we
that,
talked a little bit about Seas of Death, with the Ice Warriors are back, with a new variant, Alan Bennion.
Oh, yes.
I liked a nice warrior. You weren't so keen on the nice warriors.
Not the
You
new
didn't,
one, no.
you didn't think they looked particularly scary. I thought they looked pretty scary.
But that's why we again, when we went into that space museum,
That's right.
you know, I slipped in, here, look at the size of that. Yes, and then we didn't warn you when you came in with your next line in the museum. Because we were always trying to,
Oh, there they are.
Yeah, you see, I think they look okay.
Yeah, they're lovely. I think they're fabulous.
cactus head.
Yeah. I always love them. And then you top the season off. We mentioned briefly Prison in Space, which sort of partly turned into Space Pirates.
oh yes.
Oh, Gordon Costello
Gordon
boiling an
Costello.
egg is pretty much like
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
It's a
Oh,
shame.
this is where you corpse.
Oh,
Oh, there you go.
This is where you,
The
no.
Seeds of Death. Oh, that's with all the foam.
That
And
is
Yeah.
so embarrassing. I did the commentary for that story and with the director, and I watched it and I said, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I had no idea. I laughed."
Is Patrick on a gentle cycle wash one?
but that's when Patrick slid, and you just went, and then 30 years later, with Michael Ferguson, the director, you said, oh, I'm so sorry.
I did.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Look at space.
Oh my word.
It's like-
What are you doing under the phone then?
Yes.
Probably.
Yeah.
Looks like he's gonna spit an egg out.
Oh, we did that, didn't we?
Oh, we, every week. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of debagging went on.
There was, always in the TARDIS, and then we push him out.
You might have to explain that to a few.
Yes, yes.
Oh. And then you have another monster this story, the War Games. 10 weeks.
Yes.
Great story.
Battles in time and space.
Well,
Great story, a
Oddly
bit
shaped
long.
glasses.
Do you think it was a bit,
Yeah.
like 2 episodes
2 episodes
too
too
long?
long. But we filmed it at Brighton Rubbish Dump,
Yeah,
and the rats were
yeah. It was freezing, it was weather like you're having in Buffalo at the moment, in April. It was absolutely freezing. Rats, yeah. I mean, we had some really beautiful locations when we were doing Doctor
Yeah. I remember we had to dash up, and then it was an explosion. Patrick said, "Oh, can we see what the explosion's going to be like?" I said, "No, because it's all been set up." I said, "Well, I want to see how big it's going to be." "Well, we'll do it on the tape." And Patrick said, "No, I want to see." He said, "Look, we'll get the explosion expert." And this guy came, half a face and 2 fingers missing. And he set an explosion about 3 weeks and put too much powder in it. So Patrick went, "Blow it now." And what we didn't know, underneath was a huge rock, so and it landed right where Patrick had been
It
stood.
did, yeah, it did.
Yeah.
God, it's terrible, isn't it?
But they made the movie Oh, What a Lovely War, about the First World War, and the BBC said, "Will you leave some of the barbed wire and the props?" So they left the barbed wire and some of the trenches for us to use, yeah.
Wow.
And lovely Philip Saville.
Yes.
Yeah, really nice.
Yes.
Playing cast there.
Lots of stuff going on.
Yeah.
And at that time,
David Maloney, that was the director.
both of you decided to move on at that time.
Well, I was going to leave 6 months earlier, and it was in the newspapers where the doctor's going to lose his game and everything. And then it was Patrick said,
Is that what he called it? His Jamie?
yes. And it was Patrick said, "Frazer, my contract runs out in 6 months' time, and I'm going to leave then. Why don't you just wait and stay with me?" And then you said, "Well, I'm not going to."
Well, I'm not staying if you're not staying. Yeah. Well, I just didn't think that we could ever, whoever came in, could ever recreate
The magic.
Yeah.
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 I'm wearing Patrick's jacket there. I nicked it from wardrobe.
That's the final scene, isn't it? And
Yeah.
It was sad, wasn't it?
Very sad. We didn't want to leave.
No, we
My
didn't.
agent said, "Oh, you've done 3 years television, you must go back to film." Patrick's wife was saying, "Oh, you stopped doing children's television, you should do grown-up stuff."
serious drama.
And if we hadn't had those women nagging him, we'd still be there now. You never heard David Tennant, he used to be the stars. You had to shoot us to get out of the TARDIS.
But do you remember after our last episode, there was a little party in the green, upstairs on the 5th floor or whatever it was that we'd seen, and that we had to contribute financially. Do you remember? For our own leaving.
Good old
And if I
BBC.
remember rightly, we each gave £50, which actually, in 1968, was a hell of a lot of money. And they invited lots of people who'd been, in the programme over the year, or year and a half that I've been in it and you've been in it, and we sort of paid for it ourselves.
Yes.
I mean, it's quite shocking.
It was like an episode fee, I was on
I was about the same, yeah. Yeah, so, yeah, it was a lot of money. And also when I wanted one of my costumes, I thought it was leather, and I decided I wanted to keep it.
Of course.
And they said, well, I'd seen Bobby Bartlett's design, and I thought that looks really nice, especially if it's going to be made in leather. And I said, do you think they'll let me keep it? And she said, you can ask. And I said, can I keep it? And they said, absolutely not. What